You are recording.
That's weird.
I'm done. I'm done.
So we were all like,
No,
24 is the same way.
no, 24 has become worse than 23. Yeah. Yeah, Richard knows him real well. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool. Okay. Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah. Neat. It's a small world, isn't it? It's so strange sometimes how people are connected.
If Lucy don't think I'll bang that gavel on her, she's got another thing coming.
Because you know how to use it.
Well, I can't never get it on, so I'm
I
gonna
think
put it
this
on.
knows the only break we're
I
going
can't
to
get, I can't pull it up.
stuff.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the work session of the Kingston City Council. You please stand. I'd like to ask Mr. Gwynn if he'd lead us in invocation. Mr. Bredel if he'd lead us to the pledge of the flag.
Heavenly Father, God, thank you for this beautiful day, Father. Be with us as we seek your guidance in our decisions. Be with those that are sick and hurting across this land, and we'll give you praise and glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Are there any citizens wishing to make comment for the council tonight? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go into the item 4 is a presentation of the annual comprehensive financial report for the year end June 30th, 2023. That'd be me saying. And I got my copy off my desk and left it in there. So,
Oh, man.
yeah, if you would get it, it's on the. I left it on your desk. I have
She
two.
looked at it in detail for a little while. So I'll just start very briefly tonight. If you've guys got questions at the end, I'm happy to answer those. A clean audit opinion, no modification to the audit report. Our report on internal control did not have any issues that we identified where things need to change in the controls or processes that are in place at the city. So that's all good news. Very briefly, I'll just touch on the highlights. Ended the year June 2023 with $8.3 million in general fund and drug enforcement funds in assets, 4.5 of that in remaining fund balance. So that's a pretty hefty amount. So you've got good stewardship and plenty of funds there should you need funds in the future and run into issues with revenue. On the water and sewer, end of the year with $21 million in total assets. A large chunk of that is your property and equipment and plant. That's $16 million at the end of 23. Total equity in the water and sewer was also $16 million. Total increase in the water and sewer fund was around $400,000 for the year. So that's good. That'll keep the rate setters off your back. You've got good rates going forward covering your expenses. So that's kind of very high level overview. Questions? Anything I can address specifically?
I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Does council see anything? Have any questions?
I wanted to address, there was a letter that when we finish the financial statements, they get sent to the state, who has people who review those and go down a checklist, make sure everything is in order. There was a small comment on there this year about a schedule in the notes needed an extra header to distinguish between debt you guys issued directly and debt issued indirectly, and so that's just a header that needs to get added in. We'll make sure those are in there. That information is in schedules in the back of the financial statements, so we don't feel like they were misleading in any way. So, but that's a very small comment. As I was telling Michelle, we've seen letters like those, not on our audits, but other audits that have a lot more comments with, kind of grave errors in them. The state's accepted the report, so there's nothing to do on our end or your end going forward with that.
Anyone having questions or comments? This is that's good. I mean, it's been several years since we've had any findings, and it's always a good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Next item is continued discussion of pending legal litigation against the owner of non-compliant properties on Pineywood. Mr. Attorney.
Evening, everyone. Everyone should have received an email that I sent out last week concerning the updated documents. These are the same documents that you all were presented with weeks ago concerning a settlement agreement with the owner of the properties on Pineywood. Those properties have been sold to a new owner. Ms. Crow is no longer the owner. The new owner, Mr. Stephen Goodson, is in attendance in the back and is available for comment or questions if council so directs. What I would propose we do is get this document executed and then put this on the agenda for next week for the will of the council for me to enter into this agreement or not.
Okay. Anyone from council have anything to discuss about this? So the 5 properties that have been sold, they are, and so you said this gentleman back here has bought the properties, right?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
And what about do we have any kind of timeline of cleanup of the properties?
Mr. Mayor, the settlement agreement provides for 6 months from the date that it's entered into to clean these properties up, with the provision that as long as substantial progress has been made at the end of the 6 months, if the projects are not completely done, Mr. Goodson and I, for the city of Kingston, can appear before Chancellor McFarland and ask for a continuance or more time, showing that substantial progress has been made. But 6 months will be the time.
So about the middle of August.
That's correct.
Mr. Bowling.
I just a question for the city attorney and something some of you might be curious about. So if this, if this is put on the agenda next week and they authorize you to enter into it, how does that impact the trial date that's set for the 22nd?
With next week being so close to the trial date, my plan would be to enter this in, let Chancellor McFarland's office know the next day, that would be the following Wednesday, and then appear on our trial date to enter it in on that time. Since we'll already have a date scheduled and Chancellor McFarland will be there, that makes the most sense to me.
Okay.
That also gets it on the record.
The new owner has already met with Glenn Cofer at Code Enforcement, so I assume Glenn Cofer will be in charge of that.
There we go. Anything else? Okay, we'll add that to the agenda. We also probably need to add go ahead and approve the financial audit on there for next week too. Item 6, discussion of proposed changes to the management agreement between the library board and the city. The copy that you have at your spot tonight is the updated one. There was an item on second page H, which was left out of the copy you got on your email. Mr. Ball, do you have any comments?
Well, I know that that Ms. Smith is here, and I would assume would like to formally present this to you. The only real issue I had, the changes in it are pretty small. The only problem I had really, or the only red flag that kind of popped up to me, is section 2E. And it says, after notification, the library director shall have the authorization to schedule repairs up to $500 within the budgetary constraints of the board. When you look up, it says, the city will provide maintenance and upkeep of the facility within the budgetary constraints of the board. My concern is, if that's only $500, obviously that's not much. That's a pretty small ticket item. I certainly don't have the authority to expend funds out of their budget. So, I think, and this is just my thought from the outside looking in, that the board might want to consider increasing that amount and authorizing either the library director or the library director and I to, in the event of emergency, to significantly increase that, because if something were to happen that needed to be addressed immediately, the way this reads, it would just have to sit until the board could meet and approve the expenditure. I don't think $500 is a realistic limit. Again, if it's something that comes up that we know about ahead of time, then certainly it can run through the library board. But in the event of an emergency, this is going to make it pretty difficult if we need to do something quick. So that was just a thought. And like I said, Kelly's here. Lucy, of course, can speak on it. That was just my thought. One thing that jumped out at me. So,
Mr. Johnson, do you have anything to?
I would think, Mr. Bowling,
No, you're good.
that the board would be fine with, if there's an emergency, you and the library director could collaborate to, if you have to borrow more money from the library budget, that would be okay. I would think that they would agree to that.
My thought would be maybe that, is reflected in this agreement, whether that be, up to $10,000 or whatever, again, may never happen, but if it does, if something does come up, an emergency that needs to be done quickly, that somebody has the authority to do that, so.
That's a good point, and we'll definitely go with that, if that's what you wanna do. Our, thought in, presenting the $500 amount was that, first of all, we don't have a very large budget. And so that was one consideration, and secondly, some of us have been, trying to look at what we would like to see this management agreement evolve into over the next year or two. And we were just trying to address some things that we thought needed immediate attention. So what we really would like to do is, and whether the amount is $500 or $1,000, we really would like to work as a library board with the city and in collaboration with the manager to take care of whatever maintenance of the city building needs to be done. So.
And that may be something you want to take back to your board, to come up with that amount. It's just, my thought, hypothetically, okay, what if a tree fell and went into the building, and do we have to sit and let that sit for a week or so until the board can get together and meet, worst case scenario. So I don't know if there's a dollar amount that your board would be comfortable with, and again, whether that be authorizing me or the library director and I together on it. Somehow somebody in an emergency situation ought to have the authority to expend funds beyond that. And if that's something you don't want to grant solely to the library director, I'm happy to be a part of that. If it may be something we both sign off on, but I would just like to see somebody, again, in the event of emergency, that had the authority to expend funds, because, in any city department, I would be able to do that, but because this specifies that it would be within the budgetary constraints of your board, I don't have that. My authority doesn't go into that. So that would be something you all would have to grant.
We are really trying to work toward getting to the part where you would have that authority, because again, as it is a city building, our goal is to work in cooperation with you. If a tree falls on the building, it's probably gonna cost more than $1,000 anyway.
Sure.
And so, we are gonna need to do that in cooperation with your office. We're happy to raise the amount a little bit, but once again, our budget is very small, and so if that happens, we may be needing to look at alternative, line items, or, as the case may be, to pay for repairs anyway, so.
So, and you guys have got a board meeting Thursday night, correct?
That's correct.
Do you want to take this back to them and tell them what our concerns were about that 500 may not be enough? And if they agree to it, we can still go ahead and put it on the agenda for Tuesday night and pass it, unless anybody else has got anything else
Yeah, I've got.
in it.
I've got a
Okay.
bunch.
All right. I'll start with you, Ms. Knight.
Is item E in the new draft agreement, is that the only change?
I would like someone to point out exactly what changes have been made.
There is, look,
The changes that have been made are item 1A.
No, I have the email. I have the current agreement and the old agreement, but it doesn't point out.
I listed in the text of that email,
Let's just go over it. So, one A, did you say?
Yes.
In item 1A, the second statement says the library director will be responsible for and will supervise the performance of all library personnel in accordance with TCA 10-3-104.
Yeah.
So we did change that verbiage to say the library director rather than the board.
Okay.
That's in compliance with the state codes. Item 1H, which regrettably was omitted from your first copy, and I apologize for the confusion.
One
Item-
what, I'm sorry.
1H.
1H.
Okay.
Yes. It says the library director shall oversee the collection of all revenues and income to be paid to the library by third parties, including fines, grants, and gifts, and submit them to the City of Kingston Finance Office within the cash handling policy of the City of Kingston. The original document said the board would collect and maintain those funds, and we needed to change that so that it just shows the director overseeing the collection and then all those funds being submitted to the city finance office. We do not maintain those funds.
Okay.
They're turned over regularly. Okay, and then items 2D, 2E, and 2F, we've made changes to all of those because, as we just discussed about the tree and the repairs and that sort of thing, we felt a little clarification was needed. Some of the statements in the original document were vague, and so we just were saying in item D that any building maintenance issues, including plumbing, electrical, heat, and air, will be reported immediately to the city manager by email and then also by telephone if the issue requires immediate attention, as Mr. Bowling alluded to.
And so what did that section say before?
it
It
said
said-
that building maintenance, plumbing, electrical, and heating air to be reported immediately to the city manager by email for his follow-up. So it just kind of broadened
okay.
it out a little bit.
Okay.
And then on,
And then item 2E,
That's the problem.
after the said notification, the library director shall have the authorization to schedule repairs up to $500 within the budgetary constraints of the board. All other building maintenance shall be scheduled in cooperation with the city manager, which we plan to do anyway.
Mhm.
And then item F, we did make a change here. The library director will complete the maintenance checklist quarterly, signing and filing for reference. The original document stated that it would be done weekly. And while we have a very devoted library director who probably does that daily, it's not practical to keep up with those documents each week, so we changed it to quarterly. And those were the only changes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mr.
And
Brown?
Councilman Wright, I apologize. I did write a memo that outlined all the changes between the two and apparently didn't send it, so.
Okay, all
so-
right.
Sorry about that.
Well, it's not, it looks like we have the current agreement in the packet, and so I was trying to, when I was going through my, my packet, I was trying to figure out what was different, and I just was not getting it, so it's good to have it on the record, so, thank you so much.
Mr. Brown?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with A, the changes, or H. Mine deals mainly with E. After the $500, I'm not for going up on it, I'm for taking it down. I don't want the library director making repairs to the building. Other than, and I'm assuming I'm trying to read their minds, stopped up toilet, call the plumber, $100, keep it from overflowing, keep from shutting the library down, do that. This is a city-owned building that I think you're responsible for. I don't care, it's like renting it to them. If I own a rental house, I don't want my renters making repairs. I don't want them doing electrical work. I don't want them doing plumbing changes unless it's stopped up, changing a light bulb, changing a ceiling fan, something small. So I'm kind of the other side of where the city manager is at. I think it all comes to him anyway, because, you know, the library board needs to understand that everybody thinks that we just give them, what's your budget, 319,000. We give you a $2 million building rent-free that's worth something, so the city pays your rent for you. We also do your books for you that's worth something. Don't know what that amount is. So we really contribute more. So when people tell me, well, you just give $319,000, you know, we probably give closer to $500,000 to actually run a library. I want them to be self-sufficient, want them to take care of the stuff, but I really have heartache knowing that without the city manager's approval on his building, that somebody else is out there repairing stuff. Now, in the emergency of a tree falling or like the roof went out, we're shutting the library down to make those repairs, whether, you know, I mean, it's gotta be safe. So, you know, other than fixing the plumbing and changing the light bulbs and that kind of stuff, I don't know why and going and getting somebody that we don't know to work on the building, and we don't know what they're doing to our wiring, or if we go to $10,000, I mean, you could redo the whole plumbing system, you could rewire the boxes. I just think that they're thinking too much about it. We're not gonna let our building go down, I guess is where I'm coming from.
No, and the biggest issue I have is how it gets paid for. Because the current agreement and the proposed one both say within the budgetary constraints of the board. I don't have the authority to expend funds out of their budget, and I don't have a line item that says library building repairs.
Yeah.
So, you know, if something goes wrong, per this agreement, the library board, it has to come out of the library budget, and I don't have the authority to expend those funds. So that's the issue now. If you all want to grant me that authority, you know, up to a certain amount in the event of emergency, I'm fine with that. But I don't have the authority to spend one penny out of your budget. So that's where we're running into the issue. So,
And, you know, and everybody has to remember the history about this agreement. The reason that we have this piece of paper. Now, I hope everybody knows, I don't want to get into it, but I hope everybody understands why we have this.
Well, what are we gonna do? We're gonna leave it at 500 or what?
I've just voiced my concerns, that's all I've done.
even if it's just me, it has to be more. There's nothing I can do with $500. So, you know, if something big ticket happens at the library and it's something that I need to fix, I need to make sure it gets fixed quickly, I don't have the authority to pay for it. So that may be, you know, if it's something that we say, hey, in the next couple months we need to fix this, it's easy enough to come to your board and say, I need approval, I need you all to authorize this money so we can fix that. That's fine. But if it's something that has to be done in an emergency, somebody needs to be able to make that call quickly. And so that may be something you want to go back to your board and see if they want to grant me emergency authority up to whatever you all are comfortable with, if there's something we need to do fast. Because again, I'd hate to sit there and say, you know, I know this needs to be done immediately to this building, but I don't have the money to pay for it.
How much money have you got in your maintenance account? What's the budget on the maintenance? $200 or $300?
It's like $5,000 if I remember right, looking at the budget total for the year.
I mean, if anything big's happened, if you're talking about going up to $10,000, you know, how much is the necessity of employees? 80% of their budget? Water, to keep the door open with one person, heating and air is 80% of their budget, more than likely. So you're not, I don't know if you could, if something happened today that needed a $10,000 expenditure, I don't know where they get it at to begin with.
The way it is now, I
There-
agree completely.
Yeah, there's nowhere. So when you set this fee, And when you set, when you're bored, when you go back, when you set that, whatever it is, at $500 or whatever, it's gotta come from somewhere, and you all don't have it.
That's when it has to come
That's
back to
correct.
us.
And
I
along
don't
with,
understand it, so it's a city building,
Mhm.
then how come the city don't take care of the building?
Again,
Oh, that.
I don't know the story.
okay, I'll tell you later, but that's the reason.
That's what I didn't understand, so.
the library board is trying diligently, and I think Mr. Bowling would back me up on this, to work with him and to work with you all as a council to overcome whatever the history of this is. Our goal is to move forward for the betterment of this community. And if we need to surrender our maintenance budget to the city, or if we need to ask for more money on our budget to use for maintenance, we would like to work with you all. If you all can suggest to us the best way to do that, we are making every effort to make that happen.
Mr. Bowling?
The ideal situation would be to separate the donation made for the operation of the library and the maintenance of that building. And, you know, ideally, it's a city-owned building. We should have a line item in our budget for building maintenance. So they're out of the, I mean, yeah, like Councilmember Brown said, small stuff, changing out air filters, clog up sinks, something like that, that's fine. Their budget should be able to handle that. But if it's legitimate maintenance to that building, it needs to be in our budget, and I need to be the one with the authority to fix something when it needs to be fixed without trying to find money in their small budget. So, you know, if we want to do this the right way, as we get into our budget coming
We're
up,
on the same page now.
we need to put a maintenance line in our budget.
How hard is that gonna be to change that?
It's,
Why don't you set up a meeting with them and go back and forth, cause you know what needs to be done, then bring this back to the council
I think that's
after.
upon us to add the
Yeah, I
line.
think
It's
that's
up
us.
to us to say,
They don't
put
need
in our
to even,
budget.
we're talking
Yeah.
about the building, not the operation.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, the building.
and
It's
that,
budget time.
yeah, and that way, if we have a maintenance line item in our budget, it can fluctuate, it can be added to, it can be taken off and have no bearing on the maintenance of effort that we have
Right.
with the library.
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So-
Again, it's just like renting an apartment. I've got to shampoo the carpet, I've got to change the filters most of the time. I've got to unclog it because I'm the one that clogged it up, but, you know, the other stuff,
But this'll
All-
change also, though,
huh?
if we do that. That would change some of this too.
Oh,
It would.
Yeah, and again, I think you could leave day-to-day, small ticket items in this, saying, you know, you all handle, just like you said, if you're renting a house, your landlord doesn't come change a light bulb,
That's
you
right.
change that. But if it's
Right, and even,
structural, if it's infrastructure of the building, that's,
even at the, even, right,
that's on
right,
us.
even at the $500, Tony, if you look at D, they still have to report that to city manager
That's right.
before she even spends the $500.
And the reason for that is if the roof's leaking, don't wait a year
Yeah.
and it's rotted out upstairs and,
Mhm.
you know, you tell us so we can get somebody out there to fix it. Yeah, I think we're on the same page.
I think we
I
are too.
agree.
So we're gonna leave it like it is, and we're good with
Let
it?
them meet and
Yeah.
talk about it again, what we've talked about.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I still think they may want to, whether it's me or Barbara for the small stuff, you may still want to consider raising $500 up to $1,000 or $1,500 or something like that. I just think 500 is pretty small, given prices today. But for bigger ticket items, things with the building itself, I think we ought to look at that
Yeah,
ourselves.
I think that solves a lot of our problems
I
with,
agree.
with the library board. If we have a line item in our budget that's for, just specifically for any kind of maintenance, but beyond typical run-of-the-mill maintenance. Clogged
And we can
toilets,
spell
light
that
bulbs,
out, you know, what
you know.
things they're responsible for, what we're responsible for, just like you would in a lease agreement if you're renting a house, I think, probably.
Yes, Mr. Quinn.
So that just comes back to us and David, that we put a line item in there for maintenance,
Mm-hmm.
library maintenance.
Yeah.
Okay, and that takes them out of the maintenance business.
Yes.
And doesn't affect the budget,
I got
their
you.
budget.
I
Right.
got you.
Should be no different than the community center or the
Fire
public
hall
works
or
garage or
this
anything
building
else.
here, yeah.
Yeah, that's the way it ought to be,
Yeah.
that's right.
Thank you.
Their budget should be on the operations of the library.
Correct.
Yes, not on the maintenance. Ms. Kelly is.
We've had a few circumstances where, like when they had their HVAC unit, we had to fix that or put that in. We amended some money to the city hall buildings repair maintenance budget line item so that we could cover that, because they can't pay for that or it raises their MOE, you know. So we have kind of done this before using that city hall buildings line item, and I'm actually dissecting a lot of that budget because it's going to look different this year, and you know, it could just be right in there with city halls.
That's what I was thinking right there.
Yeah, it could just be the same.
No, I don't.
You don't want it the same?
No, I think ideally, and you're right, 100%. We've had to do that out of necessity because we've had nowhere else to pull it from.
Well, I was thinking put it in the
But-
line item under the city hall buildings, that it's separated. by itself.
Either that, or you have a section of the budget for library building, and when we put have two or
Okay,
three line
you-
items in there. But
I think we understand about we want
Yeah.
to do it.
I
We
mean,
still paying for the library?
No.
no, the way we've done it in the past, like Michelle said, we've kind of had to pull money from where we could to cover things because their budget is so small. But yeah, ideally, there should be a maintenance line item. There should be a line item for fuel for mowing the grass. Tim Clark shouldn't have to pay for that out of his budget if he has to send somebody up there to mow the grass. Things like that. If JR had, he sent people up there before. It's not fair that should have to come out of his budget. So,
Okay.
we just need
and
to.
that's fine. That's no big deal at all.
Yeah,
I think
we need
can
to
do
set up a
something there
budget
easy.
for that building, I think,
Okay.
to solve this the right way.
So you want to go back and talk to the board Thursday?
I will
And-
go back and talk
and-
to them, and do I understand correctly that I need to tell them that we're going to meet with you at a future date, and that you as council are going to look at, adding a line item to your budget for library maintenance, and so we will ultimately be able to maybe, make some more changes to items 2, D, E, and F, and remove ourselves somewhat, I guess,
I mean,
from that.
I think again, this is just my opinion. I don't tell you all what to do. If it were me, if you want to authorize the library director to do day-to-day, have the authorization to do day-to-day type stuff, I would look at raising that from $500. I think you have a director, she ought to be able to do something. I mean, I can't imagine even if it was, getting somebody down there to unclog a sink, it's probably gonna cost more than $500. So, she ought to be, as a director, she ought to be able to have that authority. But again, that's between you and her. The only other thing, and again, we'll talk about this as we get into the budget, but if it looks like there's support to add a line item to the budget or a section to the budget to do this, then what we probably would want to do was to come up with some sort of actual maintenance agreement outlining what you all would be responsible for and what we'll be responsible for. That way, again, the small stuff, it's in black and white, that, just like if you're renting a house to somebody. So, and we can work on that later, but.
Yeah, so then we just need to hold off on this until we get that. If we're going to do that in July, we can get that added to this agreement at that point. Yeah. Okay. But you got Ms. Kelly. You can go back and talk to them and tell them where we're at on it, and then we can. I think we're moving in the right direction.
Just a question, and you and Lucy may know the answer to this. In general terms, what is Barbara's spending authority without having to get board approval? Do you know that by chance?
Her spending authority?
Uh-huh.
And how much can she spend without calling the board and saying, I'm getting ready
Within
to...
your all's,
Within the library budget.
no, I mean, outside City of Kingston board policy. You all are the ones who set her authority, so.
Like how much she can spend on her own.
Our budget is so tight, and Barbara is so good to keep us informed. There's never been an issue. We basically know what expenditures are coming, and again, Michelle will vouch for us, our budget is tight and she remains within it.
Yeah.
So
There's no
it,
set amount.
so she can spend what she wants.
So she sounds like she can spend over $500 anyway.
Right.
If she needed to, so that.
Yeah, so what is
That
the
out
point
altogether.
of that section then?
Yeah, I interpreted that to mean that she had the authority, already, but if she has the authority, if she needs to hire somebody, then you may just wanna take that dollar amount out altogether.
I will let the board know, and we will look forward to working with you all on this, and hopefully the addition of a line item for library maintenance to your budget will solve all of
That'll help a lot.
a lot of these issues, and thank you all for your time. I will say, we do have a lot of great things going on at the library right now, and I think Lucy's gonna talk about that later, but, it's definitely worth the money, and I think a real asset to our community, so thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right, that's the end of the agenda for tonight. So I'll go around the room, and I'm gonna start first, because every time I do go around the room, when everybody's thanking everybody for something, I get left out. So I'm going first.
You left yourself out.
I know, not tonight.
Not tonight.
So I just want to say, Tim's guys and you on the snow removal, what we had, 3 weeks ago that pretty much crippled all of East Tennessee, and you guys did a great job. I'm not so sure about outside of our city limits how well that went, but inside Kingston it went real well, and I'm glad we didn't have any issues. One thing that I've told people that ask me questions about it is we don't budget for snowstorms like that. We budget for snow that goes overnight.
Melts the next day.
Tim cleans the roads in 6 hours. A kid sled the next day at 60 degrees. That's how we budget for our snows. So, and I'm sure that there's other cities and counties in this area that was not budgeted for that. So I wanted to go ahead and give that out. All right, Mr. Bradwell.
I think you did an excellent job on the snow too. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the hard work.
They worked very hard.
They sure did.
Mr. Childs, you have anything?
Mayor, summed it up.
That's why I wanted to go first tonight.
I know.
Mr. Gwynn?
Just echoing, you're great. I saw them out working, they were, I mean, I was to work at 5 o'clock in the morning, they were out. I guess all night, so,
We also want to thank you for helping keep the lights on.
yeah, we did do that.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Ms. Johnson, do you have anything?
Yes, I have several things.
Okay.
First off, I also like to thank the Public Works and the Kingston Water Department, because we had a big water main break. One of the days where it was, I believe, 16 degrees.
I believe you're right.
And you all you responded so quick, and I appreciate it greatly. And I have a few things from the library. On February 27th, they're going to have a special guest speaker, Melanie Harmon, sharing experiences for her hiking adventures. The library was pleased to host a representative from Roane State twice recently, who was on hand to assist high school and college students with completion of FAFSA. Sign-ups are now available for parenting classes. This program is offered through Tennessee Voices. It's a 7-part series of training sessions for parents and caregivers of children 0 to 6 years of age. And also, now that it's tax season, basic tax forms are available at the library, as well as public computers. And also, the library board wanted to make the council aware that with their continued growth, they would like to request further discussion for increased funding with the upcoming budget. So just to put it in the city council, put it in our heads to be thinking about that with us working on the upcoming budget. That's all.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Ms. Wright, do you have anything?
Yeah, I'll just echo the comments of everyone else about the snowstorm. We often don't get praised for living in the city and having to pay city taxes, and it was very apparent that the
this is one of those times where we were very lucky. We could get to the grocery store, we could get to the gas station. Our lights stayed on, our water stayed on, and so I just wanted to echo the sentiments of all of our employees who worked so hard during that time. And that's all I have.
Mr. Brown?
Okay, I've got several.
Uh-oh.
First, I too would like to thank them. I know I got kind of excited and called the city manager ranting and raving. I want to apologize to him because somebody, you know, I've said it before, Facebook is the devil. And when people got on Facebook talking about what Tim Clark was doing, I came unglued. So, apologize to you, Mr. Bowling. Wasn't fuss Mr. Bowling, but I was upset. They were working, they'd been on my street, I'd seen them out, and for somebody to get on there and then find out that that person lives outside the city that's complaining,
Of course.
I really got mad. So, anyway, just wanted to let David know I apologized to him for that. The baby blessing box, for those of you who didn't get to come to it the other day, was really good. The third one in the state. You need to go by and look at it at the fire department. If you, for those of you who weren't able to make it, had a really good turnout for that. And hopefully, as Tim said in his little speech, his address to them, I hope we never use it, but if we do, we're ahead of the curve, as we are on several things around the community. Seems that we always, with our employees, stay above that. Just want to go over some of the stuff. We had our birthday party meeting, because I can't say that great old big word that we're supposed to use, so the 225th birthday party. Some of the things that we felt like that we needed to get approval from you all. One, some of the things that we've got scheduled, we've got the schools through our new council, I'm trying to get you on council, Nancy, but our new county commissioner who's in attendance, thank you for coming to our meetings. But she's diligently working with the school systems, and the high school, the elementary school, and the middle school are all going to have a part in this celebration. The the middle school is going to have a essay contest. And we were wanting to give some sort of prize, whether that be money or a gift card. And the suggestion was brought up that several of the people in the community would sponsor that sort of thing. But we didn't feel like that we could go out and start asking people to sponsor. We've already got 2 or 3 sponsored without city council approval, that we would be collecting money on behalf of a city event, unless you all want to pay for all of that. We're looking at $300 or $400 prizes for essays. And like I said, we've already got real estate agents and
Can always give
lawyers
away a summer pass to the pool, too.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, yeah. But anyway, if you think that needs council approval, we'll need to put that on the agenda to give them permission to accept sponsorships toward that. But again, we just want to be so careful not to do something, as committees in the past have done, not kept y'all informed. So that's one of the things that came up. We got the quilt. The ladies came with the quilt. We're going to they volunteered to make us a quilt. We've put them in touch with Robert Bailey, and it's going to have all things about Kingston. Probably our logo that you voted on last time will probably be in it. And we're turning them loose, and we're going to have an unveiling, and we're not going to see it until they unveil it. So we'll have a presentation at the somewhere, and then we'll use it as a backdrop or something. Hang it. We've had suggestions about hanging it off the balcony. We've had suggestions about raffling off tickets as a fundraiser. But anyway, we got to get the quilt made first. So they're working on that, and they're really excited. Let me get right up here. We've also, the school system wanted us to have a theme so that they would all be along the same line with their poster board contest that one of the schools is doing, and also for the high school when they do their videos and stuff that they're doing and for the Cherokee. So we would like to recommend to the council that our logo for this is celebrating the past while forging the future.
Awesome.
And if that's acceptable, we would like for y'all to adopt that as the official theme so that we can pass it on to start our webpage and all that kind of stuff. So, we'd like for you to do something with that too. Also, we're gonna have to spend some money to get this stuff since it's October. And we didn't know if this year, I talked to the mayor about it, that we don't know what kind of budget we need. We're just guessing, but we've got to order Tim has invited the governor, the senators, the representatives, the congressmen, the U.S. senators, and since it's an election time, we figured that a lot of them would come. Depending on what time they come, we'll have an event down at the courthouse. If it's during the daytime where the governor comes, we'll have the school and the band and all that kind of stuff to welcome. We'll shut down the streets, but we're wanting to get a big birthday cake to feed everybody with the logo and the theme and stuff on it. So what we're proposing is that we take, if there's enough money left in this year's budget, $5,000 out of the, whatever that fund that is, what's the name? Huh? No. Publicity.
Our public relations.
Public
fund,
relations.
yeah.
Public relations, that we be authorized, you know, we've got these pins that don't know if we're gonna order them or not, but we've got to have somewhere to send Mr. Boland, if we send him something that we need to make a deposit on for the reenactors or a deposit for whatever, that we're gonna have to have something. So we would like approval, and I think there's enough money in that, especially since we're at the end of the year, and then at the end of the year, we can look again. May not need any more money. If we do, we'll come back at budget time. So, always do amendment, but we don't want to spend anything that we're not authorized to spend. Okay, got that off there, the birthday theme. We're also going to display all this stuff, and we've got events planned all through October. And the schools are wanting to make sure that everything that they let us have and everything that people are letting us borrow, old pictures, old videos, that sort of thing. So we almost need a library separate and apart from the fort that they can come in and walk through and look at this. Our suggestion as a committee was that we use the old city council room at the community center for the whole month of October. And that way it's got a separate door that if we have to come in the other door, and we can hang stuff on the wall, we can put easels up, it could be locked, somebody's there most of the time, that if we had that reserved. Talked to JR this morning, and there's Girl Scouts that they can move somewhere else, but Sonny brought up, and I kind of got, it just kind of hit me wrong a little bit. Oh, well, we can't do that because early voting. Well, that's our building, it's our 225th birthday, move early voting to the other end. I want to, and I couldn't tell them to do it. I'd like for Mr. Bolden to take charge and make sure that that room is reserved for the whole month of October. JR says there's no problem at all, but when the election commission complains that we've got them in the room that they came out of before they got to go to that room, we can use a separate entrance and that kind of stuff. So again, we're just wanting to make sure that we don't step over our authority at all. I guess that was there. Can you think of, Tim, anything I missed?
I think that just about
You
covered it. Yeah,
think I tried to make notes as I went and take it off my other notes and stuff, and we're getting ready to start our advertising and that sort of stuff. So I'll move off that if there's not any questions. The other thing, yes, ma'am.
One thing you might want to, we talked about our contest winners, that maybe the city council could recognize these students at a meeting.
Oh, yeah.
And these students
Yeah,
that learn
yeah.
about city
Yeah.
government and their
I just think that's a given that
Yeah,
Tim will do that
yeah.
when we get these winners
Yeah.
up and about.
And our faculty at our schools are gonna be kind of working on the rubric by which they'll be working, and so we'll propose that to our committee.
Okay.
Just let you know, Sonny did call, and he had talked to the county election commission, and they had no issue with moving to
Good.
another room, so.
All right, good. So that
Way to go, Sonny.
relieves my misery here then. I noticed that there's been some controversy and stuff. I'm just wondering if we as a city council would want to take a stand on the school voucher issue. I wouldn't want to do it unless it was unanimous either for or against. I wouldn't want to do something that was split, just a suggestion. I know that it's back on the agenda for the county commission to do the same thing. Clinton City has done it, Oak Ridge City has done it. Is that something that we would want to consider piggybacking on their resolution with their approval of our, and they were against it, by the way, one way or the other with the city attorney? Is that something that we would be interested in doing to show support as a city, even though we have no schools?
I don't wanna get involved in something that we have no
Okay,
business getting involved with.
all right. See, I think that's everything I have, other than a big thank you. That's all.
Ms. Jackson, do you have anything? Sure. Mr. Turner, do you have anything?
Just that Mr. Goodson, the new owner of the Piney Wood Properties, is still present back here in the audience in case he would like, if the council would like to hear a statement from him or ask him any questions.
Mr. Bowling?
Just thank you all for your kind words about the storm. I just want to brag on all of our departments. You know, it's always, it always amazes me that when things come up, whether it be weather related or a pandemic or what the case may be, they always find a way to make sure that everything gets done that needs to be done. And that's saying something for a small town, a small operation. You know, the street department, the water department, fire, police, everybody operated. They found a way to get business done, and that's just I'm just really proud of them for the way that that always seems to happen. It doesn't just happen on its own. It happens through the dedication of our employees. And I'll tell you one quick story, and I don't even think I told Kevin this, but whatever night the snow started, Sunday night. Tim Clark and I were out maybe 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and we pulled down into the water plant to just to take a break for a second. And a car pulls in behind us, and you know, we're like, "Who's this? And what are they doing out in this weather?" Well, it was a water plant employee, and he pulled up, and he wasn't scheduled to work till the next day. But he said he was afraid that with the weather, he wouldn't be able to get to work. So he came the night before, slept in the water plant, so he would be sure to be there to get the plant going in the morning. And I just, you know, that just really meant a lot to me. I thought, you know, that's dedication. And so, you know, it's people like that across all of our departments that keep this city running and give us the service that we're so lucky to have. So just very, very proud of those folks.
Thank you. Mr. Hammond, do you have anything?
I'd just like to say thank y'all for the kind words also. Back to you and thank y'all. Y'all's the one that makes it happen for us, gives us what we need to work with. So thank each and every one of y'all for that.
Ms. Kelly, do you have anything?
Actually, just that we only have 24% of unrealized taxes right now, so we're still taking lots of tax money in every day.
That's good. Yep. Anybody else? Mr.
Can
Brown?
I try one more time?
Yes, sir.
Sorry. I just want to say thank you to the city for all you did in the passing of my wife. Kelly is so good.
Don't pat her on the back too hard.
When we came back from Florida, my son flew down out of Nashville to drive me back, and Jeannie and I had just gone to the store the day before, and I threw more stuff away than would fill all the blessing boxes because I couldn't bring it home, and I had nothing at home, and it was late at night, and when I got there, the city Kelly and the city had milk and eggs there for us to have something to eat, and the support, the fire department, everybody came at the funeral. The funeral was a hit and miss thing. You know, I had all kind of problems getting her body from Florida. But I think that was Jeannie Brown telling me she wanted to stay down there. You know, she was always mad at me because I didn't buy a place down there 3 years ago when I had the money in my pocket and I didn't do it. But the support that we've got, and Tim Clark came up and as he was grading the road so we could get in and out and stopped and talked to me, it meant a lot to me. But thank all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Anybody else? This meeting's adjourned.